Why don't you give back some of the millions that you've earned? Yes, I'm sure that's quite different. But the movies, because of the pandemic, but even before the pandemic, and I suggest after the pandemic, the movies aren't fun anymore. I can't be entertained by movies. Talk radio. I love talk radio. I've been in love with talk radio since I was a child, okay? Even as a small child, I would listen to music, but I always enjoyed the DJs. I always enjoyed the commentary. Yeah, the songs were fine, but I liked to listen to the guys and the gals talking between the songs. The stories, the jokes, the little stuff like that. I always enjoyed talk radio. Arguably, whether you like him or not, one of the best talk radio hosts of all times is Rush Limbaugh. Forget the politics. Talk about the show he's put together, his presentation, his comic delivery, etc. He is about the best there is. I can't listen to him anymore. And I just totally turned him off. Now, I will admit, I do listen to him sometimes. And the number one reason, the only reason I listen to Rush anymore is because he has stage 4 lung cancer. And the chemotherapy isn't going that great. Bottom line is, one of the best of all times may not be with us anymore. So I'll still listen occasionally just to hear the sound of his voice, to remember how he was once upon a time. And Rush has certainly changed. And I'll tell you when he lost me. When he made the statement that the pandemic, the plandemic, the scamdemic only exists to get Donald Trump out of office. You've lost me now. Because Rush was always an over-the-top right-wing guy. Always has been. But he did it in an entertaining way. In a way that used parody and comedy, that was truly funny. Some said it was hateful. I didn't see it as hateful so much. Okay. The way he would make fun of the way people talked and the way he would mispronounce things, the way politicians would mispronounce things, and nobody could get anything on them because he would say, well, look, I'm just quoting the way this person says this, which was true. Okay. It was entertaining. He's not entertaining anymore. He took something, arguably the most serious thing in our lifetime, this coronavirus, and he's turned it into something political. It exists only to unseat Donald Trump. It's just not true. It's just not true at all. And when you say things, Rush always used to speak in truths. He would say, look, this is true, this is true, this is true. So because these three things are true, then this must be what's happening. And 9 times out of 10, he was right. Sometimes he was off a little, but 9 times out of 10, he was right. Now, it's hard to differentiate Rush Limbaugh from Alex Jones, except for Alex Jones is still entertaining. The other one is Joe Rogan, arguably the best podcaster of all time. Now, I know podcasting is in its infancy, but Joe Rogan, the best podcaster of all times, he signed a $100 million deal to have his stuff exclusively put onto Spotify. Joe Rogan is an outstanding interviewer, a good podcaster, and good for him for making a ton of dough doing this. But then they took a bunch of his shows out of the library. Many of them were right-wing guys. Gavin McInnes, Alex Jones, Milo Yiannopoulos, guys like that, okay? Some of them were people who had been accused of improprieties. I can't think of the guy's name right now, but this is a comedian who has been accused, and not even accused by individuals. I don't believe charges are even brought up against him yet. But just some woman said, look, he sexually assaulted me 5 years ago. Canceled, gone. Just because somebody said this guy did something wrong to him. They took the guy's podcast off of Joe Rogan, or the Joe Rogan interview off the Joe Rogan podcast. Joey Diaz, who's no right-wing guy at all. He's a comedian, okay? I've heard him wax politically occasionally, and he's something to the left of center, considerably to the left of center. But as comedians do, he says politically incorrect things, and it had to do with his sexual exploitations with some women. And it wasn't even against their will, but it was basically, to try not to be too graphic, basically oral sex with women and women performing oral sex on him and how he enjoyed it and how this happened and that happened. Apparently, Spotify thought that was demeaning towards women. Canceled. They've taken it off. You can't hear that podcast anymore. Now, some of you out there may be saying, well, Strong, well, how can you stick up for these people? They're all reprehensible human beings. Maybe, in your opinion. So you cancel them? So you take them off? You don't disagree with them, so you take them off the air? Be careful before you go for something like that, because today it's someone you don't like. Tomorrow it may be someone that you do like. And the next day, it could be you. My biggest problem with this is Joe Rogan himself. Now, he may still make it right, because this just happened a few days ago. And hopefully, by the time you hear this podcast, he will have changed things, and those podcasts will be back on the air. I don't like to say so-and-so sold out, because if somebody wrote me a check for $100 million, it's real hard for me to say, you know what? I'd tell them to stick it where the sun won't shine. Keep your $100 million. I don't know that I would do that. I might not, because $100 million, friend, that's game changing. That's life changing. That's the difference between you having a great life and having a unbelievable life. Okay. So I'm not going to say Joe Rogan sold out, but I can tell you that my opinion of him has certainly changed. And again, a podcast, this one just like his, the similarities between the James Strong Show podcast and the Joe Rogan podcast. First of all, you have to take 6 figures out of it. Okay. 6. No. You have to take 9 figures out of it. Okay. Take 9 figures out of it. Okay. But the only reason people listen to this podcast, the same reason you listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, is to be entertained. Entertained first, informed second. That's how things work. Number 3, the death of fun for me, camping. How could camping possibly not be fun anymore? Well, there's a caveat to this, because things are getting better with camping and people are finding end arounds to it. I certainly am. But normally when I camp around here in this area, and I think I went camping 3 or 4 times last year. I've not been camping at all this year. Not even once. Not one time. And this is September the 5th, okay? By this time, I had been camping 3 or 4 times already, and I will have gone another time. But here's how camping, the fun has been taken out of camping. And again, this is 100% pandemic driven. So the light at the end of the tunnel is when the pandemic is over, I believe things will be going back to normal. When I camp, sure, I love sleeping under the stars. I love sleeping outside. I love the hiking. I love the fishing. I love the outdoors. I love all that. But I also enjoy cooking. I bring 2 cook stoves with me, 2 of them when I camp. Even if I'm just by myself, I bring 2 cook stoves with me to camp. One to cook meals on and one for the coffee, okay? So I will have a big breakfast. I'll have sausage or bacon and eggs and coffee and potatoes and just a magnificent meal, even if it's just me. But here's the thing. When you're done with all this, you have to clean up the mess. And the places that I go have cook kitchens. In other words, you can clean up your mess in this kitchen. You can wash the dishes properly. Because, friend, once you cook bacon and eggs, you got a mess to clean up. You can't wipe them down and throw them back in the box. You can't. I can't anyway. The cook kitchen is closed because of COVID-19. Now, I get the social distancing, and I get the wearing the mask. I get all that. But why do you have to close a cook kitchen? But they did. For whatever reason, I don't know. Number 2, when I camp, I don't want to get bitten by ticks or mosquitoes. So I douse myself in a very strong DEET pesticide. Now, you can say it's not pesticide strong. It's just a spray that keeps the bugs off you. Well, it keeps the bugs off you because it's pesticide. It's poison. It will kill the bugs if they land on you. Translation, it's not really good for you either. So what's very important to me, because I don't want to get tick bites, they spread disease. I don't want to get mosquito bites, they spread disease. I spray myself with DEET. Before I go to bed, I've got to take a shower because I'm not going to crawl into my sleeping bag full of pesticide. That's not healthy. Showers are closed due to the pandemic, which again, I don't understand. You're not going to catch COVID-19 in a shower, but they've closed the showers. So if I can't take a shower and I can't clean up my mess, I can't go camping. Now, I have a camping trip planned. In fact, I leave 1 month from today. And I'll be camping in Death Valley, where the showers are open and the cook kitchen is also open. I checked. So sure, I have to get on an airplane, Southwest Airlines, where they keep the middle seat open, so I feel safe. And then get in a car and I drive out to the desert. And I will tell you that I will probably meet nobody else there because I've been to Death Valley in the early fall before, and 95% of the people there are Europeans. Americans don't go to the desert, especially not when the weather's hot. They go in the wintertime sometimes to camp, but not when the weather's hot. And in October, it's still going to be in the 90s during the day. There will be no Europeans, so I may have that whole campground to myself. Okay? So I found a way around this, but for much of this year, camping has ceased to be fun. Number 5, conversation with other people. Now, that's conversation. It can be a conversation at work, at play, via social media, but conversation, period, has just been eliminated because you can't say anything to anyone without them getting hateful on you. I mean, I guess you could say, this was a beautiful sunrise, wasn't it? I will guarantee you, if you say to the wrong group of people or to the wrong Facebook group or to the wrong Twitter group, wow, did you see that beautiful sunrise? It was remarkable. The Lord has truly blessed us. Here's what you'll get from people. There's no God. Prove it. Yeah, sure it was beautiful. All the red, that's because of all the pollution. That's because you drive your SUV too far and you've ruined the environment. You get that. Not from most people, but by some people. And it's kind of like if you have a swimming pool full of people, okay? Let's say you have 100 people in your swimming pool, and only 2 of them piss in the pool. Only 2. But you know what? Now the pool's ruined for everybody. Everybody's got to get out. You got to shock the pool because 2 people couldn't use the toilet inside. They had to use the toilet outside. And that's how conversations have been. You can't say anything to anyone without somebody being offended. So, okay, let's see. How can I rearrange this conversation about the sunrise? Okay, I will mention that the red sunrise was beautiful. Nah, I take the red out because someone could think that it's only red because of all the fluorocarbons and carbon monoxide in the air, so I don't want to offend those people. I can't thank God for blessing us because if you're an atheist or an agnostic, I may offend you. Okay, so I say, I looked outside and it looked pretty this morning. Okay, you've taken all the adjectives and adverbs out of the equation. And adjectives and adverbs are what put the fun in life. If you're only matter of fact, if you can't comment on a beautiful woman walking down the street because that's sexist, if you can't comment on how you enjoyed this ball game played by people who totally repulse you, you can't do that. I mean, they've taken the fun out of conversation. And I use the inclusive they because There is no they. There is no one person. It's just the culture